All right, let's quickly move on to our top story, that incredible rescue effort which is now taking place. I'm going to bring you lots of details about this, but first I'd like to introduce a very special guest. Commodore R.S. Dhankar is with the Navy. In fact, he retired as Principal Director of Special Operations, and having come forward, sir, come sir. There is no one in this country who perhaps knows combat diving, diving under difficult conditions than this man over here. Very privileged to have him. We're also joined by Marwan Mekenmarkar, the Asia Regional Correspondent of the Nikkei Asian Review. Thanks very much for being with us. And Semsuk Kasitipradit, the Managing Editor of New 18 Channel. Marwan, let me come to you first. What can you tell us about the immediate condition of the children who have been rescued? Are they okay?
First, to clarify, 4 boys have been rescued, not 6. That was a bit of a media slip-up.
Right.
And they have been taken to the hospital in Chiang Rai, which is the main province where the cave is located. The rescue operations have been put on hold and will probably commence tomorrow morning. It may take the rest of the day to get the remaining boys and the coach out.
And Mr. Kasitipradit, are you aware of the condition of the children who've been pulled out? Because they were flown by an air ambulance to the hospital in Chiang Rai. What is their condition?
Well, that's under the supervision of the doctor, and it's part of the operation plan. After they have been rescued from the cave, so they have to go to the hospital. 4 of them, as your colleague confirmed. And tomorrow, still 9 left inside the cave. And this operation lasts only about 8 hours. But from the beginning, the governor, who is in charge of the operation plan, has informed public before that he expects 11 hours. That could be 9 p.m. tonight. It's local time. Its local time now is 10:30. So the operation is quite amazing, as you say, incredible. And the Thai people are very joy and cheerful of the operation success. We are so hopeful that by tomorrow, all 9 will be rescued from the cave.
Mr. Mekenmarkar, what about the worry about water and more rainfall? Because they were fighting against time. That's why they started the operations today. What is the weather like over there? And is that a concern? Because so many more children and the coach, they're still over there, stuck.
Yes, that's a worry because it's pouring at the moment. In fact, when the rescue operation began at 10 this morning, it took almost 11 hours for the first boy to be brought out of the cave. And just around the time the second boy was brought out, the skies opened up with monsoon rain. So that is certainly a challenge. They are fighting the weather gods on this front.
Mr. Kasitipradit, what else did the governor actually have to say? That, you know, there'd be more operations tomorrow. I understand that these 4 children have been brought out. I understand that. Is there any other detail that he shared?
So for tomorrow, our Prime Minister, General Prayut, he will go to the site tomorrow morning, because this incident is a nationwide, and people are also has following this case closely. Even our king also gave his moral support to all officials to help retrieve all the 13 people trapped inside the cave.
Okay, gentlemen, be with us for a moment. I want to go across to Commodore Dhankar. As I do that, sir, I just want to tell our viewers where all of this is actually taking place. It's in North Thailand. It is in the Chiang Rai area, where there is a cave complex to the north of Chiang Rai, where this is, which is all taking place. Let's just zoom in over here to the images over here. Right. So this is where it's all taking place, in the cave complex in the Chiang Rai district. Now, this is really what we want to focus on with the Commodore. Now, we've just been told that, in fact, it's 4 children who have been rescued. Earlier reports suggested there could have been 6, but the others are still inside. So these operations are far from over. Commodore, just getting to these children, firstly, it's a miracle that they were discovered in the first place, more than 4 kilometers away from the entrance point. Just getting to this place for rescue divers, how difficult would that have been? Before we talk about the children, just getting there.
That was the most difficult part in my view. because the rescue divers, first of all, when they went inside through these flooded waters, there's nil visibility conditions and very narrow passages. You can see all constructed passages, all up and down. Yes. At some points like the choke points and all, where you have to maybe take off your cylinder and then get it with you and then go up. It was a really very daring and very, I would say, miraculous kind of operation which these cave divers have undertaken.
The other point that you mentioned to me before we started is the extraordinary resilience of these children and their coach. Because what they have embarked on today, it's extremely difficult. It's, it's pretty much life and death. It's that difficult and critical an operation. How important is the psychological condition of these children? Physical strength is one thing.
That is the, greatest part of it. When I saw the first video of these boys when they were approached by the British divers, cave divers, I was more than sure that these boys are highly motivated. They are both physically and mentally tough, which is required. And the most lynching point, key point of this escape is that once they have been taught, they were some of them were non-swimmers. So once they have been taught how to breathe from the set with full face mask, that is a diving breathing technique known as pendulum breathing. You breathe in fully, hold your breath for some time to save on your gas, and then breathe out fully. So it's a pendulum breathing.
Right.
So if that has been taught to them properly, that is the key thing. Where and they have picked up fast because they're smart boys. They're physically fit and mentally also very agile.
Okay, so let's move to the next point, because what we want to actually talk about now is this area. It's being described as the choke point. Now, just in terms of getting to this area, these boys would have to swim down, and then they would have to actually swim up, and then they would have to negotiate this area over here. I'm going to zoom into this area to give you an idea of why this choke point is difficult. 15 inches, that's all it is. 15 inches is the breadth of the passage in this particular area. They'll need to get up out of that to this area over here, where there is land and there is no water. Now, it's difficult as it is for these children in this condition to make it up, but even for the diver with his equipment, paraphernalia, that would be very difficult, because you can't, in 15 inches, carry the tanks on your stomach or on your back. So tell us what happens
for
there.
the diver, it would have been most difficult. But for the children, before they came down, I'm sure the medic over there must have checked up their ears, nose and throat.
Right.
Because you should be able to go down and bear the,
pressure.
clear your ears.
Yes.
That is called clearing of ears. So that they would have been checked. They must have been fit that way. And after that, when they have been negotiating this passage, this is the most, difficult part, because especially for the diver. For the child, when they entered the cave, they have gone through it.
Yes.
And child is more supple. He is more thinner, he can wriggle out much better than a full grown man. So for the child for the diver, it is most difficult portion. And
you have to disconnect the set, the tanks from
disconnect, hold it in hand and just keep having your face mask on and having that breathing pipe all the way. So that is the best part of it. These divers have done a great job.
Okay, so this is another representation of what it would be like. A few more points. We are told that neither the divers nor the children obviously had fins, because there wouldn't have been enough area, you would have been right. So these children, many of them are not swimmers. They would have been clambering up and down this particular surface. And the point I wanted to ask you about was this: poor visibility.
Well,
or no visibility.
I would say if that guideline has been rigged, there is no need of the fin. You just go tag along the guideline.
Yes, I believe it has been.
And visibility, you just close your eyes and keep on the guideline. If this guideline also could have been rigged up with something known as chem sticks, which glow for maybe 12 hours at a stretch once you attach them, which will give the boys little more confidence level, it will increase. Otherwise, they are also not needed, because the psyche of the boys, which were the best, which you had pointed out, is the linchpin of the whole thing. The boys were adventurous in their spirit, and going through all this and holding on, just closing the eye, just going tagging along the guideline is the most important.
So
continuously maintaining that breathing discipline,
which is what diving is all
yes.
about. What does it feel like, just for the benefit of our viewers, what does it feel like to be diving in zero visibility conditions when it's all muddy around you? How does claustrophobia,
yes.
how is that a
yes.
real factor?
Yes, it is basically when you are in the open waters and there is no visibility, then you tend to lose direction completely.
Right. Yes.
Completely lose direction when there is no visibility. But here, when the guidelines are rigged, then you have to just tag along the guideline.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
So you actually know, you obviously
yes.
know where you're going.
You just
you're
keep
pulling
going
it over
on.
there.
Keep going
and
on.
in this case, they were guided by somebody in front and somebody behind.
Yes.
Each child had two divers, one in front and one behind, to deal with the situation. Third question, next question to you, sir. Panic in a situation like this. These children don't know how to swim. It's not a very comfortable feeling to have a mask on your face at the best of times. For those wearing this for the first time, I mean, it's just been maybe a few days that they've been wearing it. If panic were to set in, then what would happen?
You look at the motivation level of the boys in the sense that they are looking forward to get alive.
Yes.
First thing was that they went all the way into the cave, dark cave. They were adventurous in spirit, they were courageous, they were physically fit, and they are also mentally very strong and agile. So when initially the divers must have taught them how to put on the mask and how to do proper breathing.
Yes.
So first it must have taken place on the surface, then they must have been taken down in the water, and they must have practiced that pendulum breathing, proper breathing technique.
Yes.
And after that, if the boys, I am sure, must have been told, just keep doing this and follow the guideline,
and we'll
nothing will happen to you, we will be behind you and ahead of you.
So last
that
question.
boosts up their confidence.
Sure.
And it will not allow, if panic sets in, there will be some fouling somewhere, because
that's another important part. Fouling, in other words, the cables being grabbed over a leg, perhaps a tank.
Even the breathing hose and the rock,
and if you can't see clearly, then untangling
inside
yourself.
are jagged.
Yes.
They are jagged rocks. The current is there. You can get pitched
pushed against
the
wall,
thing.
yes.
The current will not allow you to come.
Yes.
So the main thing was keep holding on to your guideline,
and
keep
slowly
breathing, pendulum breathing. Nothing else is to be done.
Right.
Just one by one. Just go, we will be behind you and we'll be after you.
Right.
That's all.
I must say, the pendulum breathing that he's talking about, it's easier said than done. When you're diving, you need to be constantly breathing. There shouldn't be a situation when you're not breathing. But to do that in a restricted environment is difficult. And the discipline that you need to actually keep on diving, it comes with time and practice.
I would like to add on that if you panic, then you lose that pendulum breathing thing, because you see in any situation when you are scared or something and you panic, then your breathing gets out of control.
Right.
And once the breathing gets out of control, you run out of the gas. Okay. You will run out of the gas.
So one last question to you. This is the entrance over here. This is where the children were found. This entire distance, 4 kilometers. Now, some of this they would walk, but a lot of it would be underwater.
Yes.
It's narrow, they'd be crouching, they'd be carrying heavy equipment. When they're in the water, they don't feel the weight of the equipment, but the bulk is still there. This is a huge distance, sir, by any stretch of the imagination. How difficult would this distance alone be physically to overcome?
Well, I would again say that these boys were physically very fit.
No, the boys wouldn't be carrying very much, but the
divers will be carrying.
Yes.
And for the divers, yes, it will be very, very difficult. But generally, most of these SEALs divers or combat divers and guided by the expert cave divers, they have this kind of stamina to negotiate these kind of difficulties and physically demanding conditions.
Sure. Well, Commodore, thanks very much for speaking to us. Sir. Why don't you have a seat, sir, while we carry on with just a few more questions to Mr. Makan Markar. We were speaking to one of the most experienced divers that India has had in the Indian Navy over there, sharing with us his expertise in this particular scenario. But tell us a little bit about the families, because we just haven't spoken about the families. We've spoken about the children, what they're going through. Do you have any information about their families? Where are they being kept? what sort of communication? I believe they sent across some letters. So, Mr. Makan Markar, could you share a little bit of information on the families?
Well, this story has brought the country together, and the focus of attention is in the northern province of Chiang Rai, and the community spirit there is extraordinary. People have volunteered their time and efforts to ensure that this rescue effort is a success. At the same time, the government has been working with the families to make sure that they are kept informed about every step of the rescue operations. And I think the four boys who were brought out, their families have been informed about them being taken to the hospital. So yes, I mean, it's a nation that has come collectively to help these families and throw as much emotional support as can be to ensure that their spirits are up, because the boys themselves have communicated through letters, in fact, making jokes about they don't want too much homework when they come out, and some sort of light humor, which I think was rather uplifting.
Mr. Kaseti Pradit, you were mentioning that that all of Thailand is united by this story. I can tell you, sir, all of the world, and I think all of India is equally united about what is happening. This is a story where the entire world, and just look at the rescuers, they've come from so many countries, they're working with the Thai Navy in doing this entire thing. And I'm told that FIFA has actually said if these kids get out and they're all right, then they've got tickets to go to Russia to watch. I don't know if they'll be in a condition to do that. But isn't this also, something about humanity, about how people from around the world are all praying for these children?
Yeah, we are surprised because it is quite amazing operation, as you mentioned. But I might correct something. When you mentioned the whole distance is 4 kilometers, but the area for this operation only 1.7 kilometers. So it's much a bit shorter, and the time consumed during the operation is shorter, more allowed 2 hours. And this operation, I would say, tomorrow would be a big story in Thailand because of the people very cheerful and joyful for the success of the operation.
So you raised an important point. Mr. Kaseti Pradit, the distance, the time taken to get out was about 2 hours less. Is that because a lot of the water was pumped out in some parts? Is that what you're mentioning?
Yeah. Because 3 days before the operation start, local government drain out most of the water. Yeah. During the past 3 days or so, not much raining. But today, I heard that there was a lot of rain at the area, and for the next few days. If this kind of thing happening, it will be cause difficulty. But before we go to this show, the governor who is the operation chief, he talked during the press conference saying that a new oxygen tank will have to be deployed along the way.
Oxygen tank will have to be deployed. That's important because oxygen levels were actually going down from 21% to about 15% in the area where the children were found. I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us.